Today, I'm getting tested like a pro marathon runner. Is it gonna be worth it for a novice runner like me? Let's find out. Right, we're on the way to get some testing done. I don't really know what's going on, to be honest. I have no idea. I've seen quite scary clips and images of Phily doing this kind of stuff. And it's been hinted that this is gonna be pretty intense. But yeah, I'm a little bit nervous, you know? But I think it's gonna be cool to see kind of what the information that maybe like a pro gets and see whether it might help me. I mean, I don't know what else they're gonna tell me, that I'm kind of slow.
I would say ignorance is bliss at this point. Not knowing what is coming is probably a good thing for the first time. You'll never get that again if you do some testing again.
This sounds really ominous, I'm not gonna lie. I've seen the kind of mask that you have to put on, and that looks kind of uncomfortable. But anyway, we're gonna drive there and we'll see what happens. All right, made it. Thank you, chauffeur. All right, it's just down the road. Probably won't talk much because I'm gonna be working out, but Phily's gonna be filming everything. So hopefully we'll get some nice B-roll and I will talk you through the results, what happens afterwards. Anyway, let's go. Honestly, I can't take her anywhere. She's a child.
Speaking of the idea, what have you been using? They both. Okay. That's his side jump on.
How's that?
Yeah, it's fun. Tough by the end, but it was fun.
Getting that on camera, that was fun.
No, it was a 30 seconds that it was a killer, because you only got 30 seconds between reps and they're 4-minute reps, which is tough. That was actually a lot more fun than I was expecting it to be. It wasn't as hard either. I will sit down with the report when it comes through, but we didn't do the...
You didn't measure your carbohydrate and fat oxidization, so you didn't have to have the big Bane mask on.
Which is nice, because it was tough by the end, and I think it would have been even more disgusting if I had to wear a mask. But no, really interesting. It was pretty much bang on what Phily's been setting me anyway.
For tempo and
stuff, which is good. Yeah. Some really interesting things about training at pace rather than heart rate, and I'll get into that later on. So I will probably end up training a little bit less with my heart rate and being specific on that, but we'll get into that, and I'll sit down with everything later. Anyway, I need some food.
And you need a shower as well, because you stink.
Yes, I stink. Alrighty, the results are in. Now, I already knew the results because Fletch very kindly took me through the results there and then on the day, but I have it in front of me, so at least I have something to reference. Otherwise, I think I'd be a bit lost. But before that, I just want to thank One Track Club, Fletch and Laura, for having me. For full disclosure, I was gifted this testing, and Phily is being paid to do a little bit of promotion on her Instagram, just to be fully transparent on that one. First of all, what was the test? We did it says here, a lactate report. It's a lactate threshold thing. We were measuring my lactate threshold and then my lactate turning point. It informs Phily and I where we should be plotting the paces that I'm running at for my easy pace, for my threshold or tempo pace, and then for my interval paces as well. Basically, it was testing to see whether Phily was doing her job right. She was doing her job pretty good, actually. So what the test was, I started at my easy pace on the treadmill for 4 minutes. I then jumped off, they took a blood sample from my ear, that was a 30-second rest, and then I would run again for 40 seconds, increasing the speed by 1 kilometer every time. So I started at 8 kilometers and went all the way up until 13 kilometers. And just to be clear, the graph looks a bit strange. When we took the 5th reading, there was a mistake. Technology or something just didn't go right, because that's just not how the graph should look. It shouldn't have this weird peak here. If you can imagine that this point here connected nice and smoothly up here, that is what it should look like. What we found was that the lactate threshold, which as you can see here is this bar, it is the point between easy and moderate. Basically, it's when the body starts producing more lactate than the muscles can take, and therefore lactate gets pushed out into the rest of the body. I'm probably explaining this slightly wrong. I'm not a scientist. I'm going off what I was told in the room. So if I forget things or they come out slightly wrong, please don't take this as pure fact. Go do your research if you're not 100% sure. But anyway, we found out that my kind of lactate threshold was at 9.5 kph, which is about 10-minute miling. A way that he described the lactate threshold, which is technically training in zone 2. So this whole fascination was training in zone 2. It's not actually a zone in the sense you've got zone 1 and then you've got zone 3, and zone 2 is actually a very small place, and he described it as like a gate. And basically, when trying to train in zone 2, you just have to try get as close to this gate, whether it's slightly under, slightly over. So my zone 2 pace is around 10-minute miling. And as you can see there, that's 6:19 min/km as well. So that's pretty much where I was training. I was training a little bit slower, and I've actually seen a decrease in fitness. So what I've actually already implemented is I'm just running my easy runs slightly faster than I was. A little bit less fast than I was back in the day, but a little bit faster than I have been in the last kind of month or two. Another interesting thing that we discussed was heart rate training. And although heart rate training is very good, especially for a beginner runner who maybe hasn't got the fitness, I still see myself as a beginner runner, but at the same time, you personally are the best indicator of the paces that you should be running. You should take into consideration your heart rate and the pace, but at the end of the day, you go out and you run at a perceived effort. And my easy running pace, the perceived effort, which is here, RP, is anything under a 4, basically. So if it's under a 4 in the pain cave, then that is the easy run. What was also mentioned was the fact that if you purely went on heart rate, your heart rate throughout a long run will always trend upwards. So what will end up happening is your speed will then just drop if you're trying to keep that heart rate low, which is fine for, you know, for me anyway, 30-minute runs. But if I'm doing a long run, I can't stick to heart rate the whole time. Otherwise, I'll just be running slower and I won't get as much out of it. So that's another thing that I've learned, that maybe he suggested run the first 20 minutes of a run with heart rate, make sure you're there comfortably. And then after the 20 minutes, you just forget about the heart rate and you go on your perceived effort. Cool, so that was the threshold point of my lactate. Now we go to the lactate turn point. And this kind of bar here, this yellow bar, this would be my tempo or threshold pace. And we've got here anywhere from 9:15 to 7:59, which is pretty bang on what Phily was setting me. She set me a couple of short tempo pace runs, so tempoing at 20 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and she did that obviously because it's a shorter tempo and the higher end. So she was giving me 8-minute miling, which is 4:57 min/kms. So what was really interesting is just to be able to plot those timings, have more informed ideas of what my heart rate should be and my heart rate levels and zones, which is pretty cool. I just recorded everything that you've heard about 4 hours ago. I chucked it into Premiere Pro and started editing it and realized a weird buzzing noise was happening. And what that was is it was my mic running out of battery. So everything that you've just seen was absolutely fine. Everything after had an annoying buzz on it. So I'm just recording the end of the video again, but it's fine. I said everything that I wanted to say about the test itself. I think this kind of testing is for someone who really wants to get down and dirty with the numbers. If you want to inform your training even more than just kind of going by feel, and you want more of an introduction into kind of how the pros do it and how the pros get even more data so that they can inform those little 1%, then this is absolutely for you. Only caveat is that to get the best out of this kind of testing, you probably need to go every 3 to 6 months to kind of see your kind of progression. But not only that, is that like test yourself at the beginning of a big block of something and then part way through it to kind of see where your fitness lies. So I can completely understand how maybe it's not for everyone, but it's very helpful. Do I feel more like a pro? Not really. As I joked about right at the beginning of the video. What else are they gonna tell me? That I'm slow? It kind of just really cemented exactly what my training should be, and that Phily is actually good at what she does, which I was never questioning, but I think it was good for her to kind of go, oh, that's exactly where I was putting Daniel's training, which is good. I hope you enjoyed watching an absolute novice do some testing, and it hopefully enlightened you a little bit into kind of what the pros do. You have to keep an eye out because on Phily's channel, we're gonna show you exactly what she does in the lab, which is slightly different, but you'll have to watch Phily's video to find out. But anyway, I will see you next time.